Raiders head coach and Antonio Pierce appeared to take shots at Davante Adams and other Raiders stars after they got blown out by the Panthers in week 3. Pierce said there were some players that made business decisions, and the Raiders organization will make business decisions of their own. Adams said he didn't know if Pierce's comment was specifically directed to him, but wasn't happy with him saying it was about their team. Adams had just 4 catches and 40 yards in the loss against the Panthers. Adams previously called out reporters and the media for trade rumors to the Jets throughout the offseason, saying he never demanded a trade from the Raiders. He has also said that he supports the Raiders organization under their new leadership, and most of the frustration was with Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler getting rid of Derek Carr. Adams is entering his 3rd season of a 5-year, $140 million contract. All this tells me right now, he only stayed because of Antonio Pierce, or he probably would have been a Jet in the offseason. The Jets were trying to trade for him at the trade deadline last year, and it didn't go through. I know the Jets reached out. Joe Douglas said at the end of the season he did reach out to the Raiders and spoke about that with him, with ownership over there with the Raiders, and the Raiders didn't want to move him. Now, in this offseason with the Antonio Pierce, I think Antonio Pierce obviously winning over Davante Adams throughout the season last year. Davante Adams wanted to stay there, and everything Davante Adams wanted in the offseason or during the season, getting rid of Josh McDaniels, getting rid of Dave Ziegler, they did exactly what he wanted. It was all about Davante Adams, and Davante Adams is a superstar, and Davante Adams should get the credit for the success that they had in the second half of the season, especially at the end of the season where they could have snuck into the playoffs if things went the right way. Losing against the Panthers and Andy Dalton, that was embarrassing. And it only tells you how bad Bryce Young is right now. Andy Dalton he's been a competent quarterback in the NFL. I mean, he's thrown over 30,000 yards, close to 30,000 yards. I mean, a guy that a lot of people thought was a backup quarterback, and even with Cincinnati, he is not Joe Burrow. But this is a guy that's taking this team to the playoffs, the Bengals to the playoffs. This is a guy that has been successful in the NFL. This guy could put up 300 yards every single week. He's capable. He's quite capable of doing it. And they have weapons. They have Adam Thielen, even though he got hurt in the game. He could be out this week. Another guy that's off both my fantasy teams. But it's unbelievable how players are just getting knocked off of me. It makes me sick to my stomach. But they have weapons there. More weapons than they had last year. And I think Canales, he's a good coach. You saw what he did with Baker Mayfield, and Baker didn't have a good week this week, but Baker Mayfield throughout this season has been pretty good, and a lot to do with Canales and why they took and they brought Canales there to help Bryce Young and help this offense. I'm going to tell you this right now. This is going to go down, and this is going to go down in flames for the Raiders, because this is an organization that has always mistreated their superstars. Derek Carr, say whatever you want about him. Maybe it didn't work out over there. They treated him like crap at the end of his career. He was there for a year, and you pushed him out. He's got right there in New Orleans. They're up, what are they, 2-1 right now? I mean, the Saints are still a borderline playoff team. He's playing great. What happened over there with the Raiders? And Davante Adams went there because his buddy, Derek Carr. Now you're hearing different stories of different players that they just pushed out over the last couple of years. They drafted Bowers. They were right about, there's no doubt they were right about Brock Bowers. He looks like he's a stud. But how long is it going to take for Brock Bowers to say, you know what, I'm a stud. I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want you to trade me. Trade me before I force my way out of here. It's a huge problem right now. And the Raiders have always been the laughing stock of the AFC, especially in their division, not just with the Jets. They have been a laughing stock really since the John Gruden situation. They pushed John Gruden out because they had to, because all the racist situations and things that he said came out because of Roger Goodell and Schneider and all that other stuff. John Gruden was getting this team back in order. He was starting to get this team and people to believe that this team could be a team to reckon with. And finally, when they did it, what happens? He gets fired, and this team brings in a guy like Josh McDaniels, who's like an absolute failure. It's horrible what's going on with the Raiders organization. I'm telling you right now, if you don't think Davante Adams is going to be asking his way out of here very soon, you're sadly mistaken. He will be asking his way out of here, and it's the Jets. It's no question. I'm not saying because I'm a Jet fan. It's just the factual thought right now is the Raiders are not going to get what they want for Davante Adams because of his contract. So the Jets are going to have to finagle something. It's going to be able to get Davante Adams here. So they're obviously going to have to get rid of Mike Williams and get rid of certain players, or maybe keep Mike Williams, or maybe guys take pay cuts or something like that. They're going to have to do something. But if it costs them an opportunity to not bring in Davante Adams and win a Super Bowl, the Jets will not do that. They're going to do everything they can to get this guy over here. Now, Antonio Pierce taking shots at Davante Adams as early as he has, especially what they did the week before, it only tells me one thing. It's going to be a short stay over here. Because if Davante Adams, your superstar, doesn't like you and you're throwing your superstar under the bus, how long is it going to take Mark Davis to say, you know what, I don't want you here anymore? He barely got the job. It's the truth. Everybody that said, oh, he won the job. No, they still interviewed people.
Yeah, nobody wanted it.
Nobody wanted the job. Nobody wanted the job but Antonio Pierce. And that says a lot about this organization. They don't have any quarterback. Gardner Minshew is not the guy. I'm sorry. I like Minshew. He's got a good personality, drives that weird bus. He looks like a serial killer when he's on the football field. I love it. The mustache, great. It looks great. It looks sexy for all the girls out there. You want to grab his mustache or grab whatever you want, go right ahead. But right now, this team is losing faith in their head coach. And once that happens, Max Crosby is very close with Davante Adams. Once that happens, everything's going to start to fall apart. Look at it, Josh McDaniels. As soon as the team figured out that Josh McDaniel wasn't the answer, what did they do? They stopped playing for him. And this could happen a lot sooner than later for Antonio Pierce. It's a shame that it's going on for a guy that I actually like. I like Antonio Pierce. I think he's a good person. I met Antonio Pierce a while ago at a golf course. He was playing golf. Very, very nice guy. Very nice guy. But once you lose your superstars, you lose everything. And now you're taking shots at your superstar player early in the season the way you have. This is 1 foot out for Davante Adams. Yeah, you're going to be hearing stories very quickly that he wants out. He wants to go play for this Jet team. If the Jets go 4-1 in the first 5 games, what do you think Davante Adams is going to think in his mind? Mm-hmm. I got a chance to win a Super Bowl.
That's exactly it, because you look at the receiver contracts in today's NFL and the receiver power that they really have. That offseason, Davante Adams got traded. He really started the ripple effect. The trade broke on air during one of our shows when the Raiders traded for him, and then A.J. Brown got traded a month later. Then all these other guys signed their big contracts after we thought they were going to get traded. Everyone thought the Jets was going to trade for Deebo Samuel. Like, there were so many other things that happened. Like, that's the power wide receivers have. And again, he also mentioned too, like, he didn't even think it was just about him. It could have been about Max Crosby, or it could have been about...
Would Davante Adams take a pay cut just to go to the Jets?
Maybe, but
he can do that, by the way.
Sure.
He can do that.
Sure, and that'd probably be the only team he would do it for. But going back to the Raiders case, we were talking about, like, the Raiders defense, the way they improved a lot in the offseason, the way they improved when Pierce took over too. And now we have all these guys that say, oh, you lack effort. These guys are making business decisions. Like, Christian Wilkins got a big contract from them as a defensive tackle, and all these other linebackers, we have 2 of them on our all 22 teams. And like, they played really well last year with Antonio Pierce. And all of a sudden it's just not being the same way. And that kind of thing is not something that needs to be said public. And it sounds embarrassing when you got embarrassed by a team that got outscored by 60 points in their first 2 games, and you just, oh, you're making big decisions. Like, yeah, that's on you too. All the coaching. We had Stuart Schweigert on last week. He was praising Luke Getsy, and all of a sudden they fall good.
Please, Schweigert. I haven't heard Stuart Schweigert all over social media over the last couple of hours. So, I mean, Stuart, I love you, Stu. I love you, Stewie. But right now, the Raiders look like they've lost faith in the coach already. It's 3 games into the season, and they've already lost faith in Antonio Pierce. It only tells me one thing moving forward. You're going to hear stories, ramblings, over the next couple of weeks on, Antonio Pierce isn't the guy. They want him out, and then you're going to hear Davante Adams say, then you're going to really start hearing stories that Davante Adams wants out and wants to go play for the Jets. Because if the Jets go 4-1, or they go 5-1, they beat the Buffalo Bills in week 7 or 6, whatever it is. I think it's 6. If they go 5-1 against and beat the Bills, you're talking about Super Bowl. You're talking about, winning the AFC, beating out, maybe fighting the AFC for the Kansas City Chiefs. That tells me one thing. He believes that he is the ether for the Kansas City Chiefs. He goes over there and plays with Garrett Wilson on one side and him on the other. With that defense, with Aaron Rodgers, forget, and that running game and that offensive line, forget it. Forget it.
Quickly before
Errol, he reminds me of your boy. You know who I'm talking about?
Ooh.
Herm Edwards.
Oh, God, please.
Rah,
We
rah,
play to
Herm.
win the game. We play to win the game. Don't you
Look,
love my words?
Herm was the type of guy that was like the rah-rah motivator, defensive guy. And that's clearly what Pierce was. I loved him as a linebacker for the Super Bowl Giants. He was such a great leader, and he really took over when there was no leadership with McDaniels the year before, and people bought in because they needed something besides the trash that McDaniels was giving them. Well, now you're looking at him, and he's kind of exposed. He's a defensive guy. They don't have the great X's and O's, and they don't have the quarterback necessarily to make any of these things work. If you're not a great offensive coach without the quarterback, it's very difficult to succeed. And you're seeing him trying to do the rah-rah stuff and motivate people. And it's just falling on deaf ears right now, as opposed to last year. I mean, if it wasn't for Doug Peterson's collapse tonight, I would say Pierce is the first guy to get fired. But I hate to say it. I really like him. And I think if he was maybe in college, the rah-rah stuff would be better off, and he can get guys that can scheme a little bit better at that level. But right now, it just doesn't look like it's working, boys.
We're going to go to a quick break, but I want to say something. I don't know what's going on with the Bengals, but if the Bengals lose this game against Washington will be 2-1.
Add him to the list, Fist.
2-1. I mean, they could – Washington – Jaden Daniels looks fantastic in this game. I mean, I said that he could be the best quarterback in this class, but I think it's Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, and Bo Nix looked pretty good this week. He did actually look really good this week. I want to see what Jaden Daniels. This is the game. This could be the breakout game that it really takes Jaden Daniels up to superstardom. But the Bengals could go 0-3, and how many teams make the playoffs going 0-3? Not many. Go look at the record. I think it's only like 5 teams in NFL history that do it. So that's crazy. Joe Burrow, yes, Joe Burrow. Could be 0-3 in week 3 of the NFL. It's crazy. Anyways, let's go to a quick break. We're looking forward to get him on the show. I can't wait to have him on. Oklahoma Heisman Trophy winner, Mr. Jason White, when we come back here on the Sports Loudmouth.
This is the Sports Loudmouth.
631-672-3108 is the number to call. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy Petey. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth with me and Speedy Petey every single Mondays and Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings for all our shows is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Before we get our first guest, he's waiting kindly and carefully to get ready for this wonderful interview, and he's going to have a lot of fun. Trust me, we're going to have a lot of fun with him. But I just want to let you know, this segment is brought to you by StubHub, ladies and gentlemen. And all you have to do is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com, and you can go and check out StubHub. You hit our link, and you can get so many different offers right now. There's a 10% offer right now on certain tickets, 15% on other tickets, ladies and gentlemen. Here's what you do. You hit our link, and you can go to an Oklahoma Sooners game right now. The Texas Longhorns tickets right now are selling between $20 and $40. So, hey, maybe Jason White's going to the game this coming week. He's a Heisman Trophy winner at Oklahoma. Guess what? You can meet Jason White if he's heading over there to the game. I don't know if he's going to Texas, but whenever they're going to home openers or home games or whatever the hell, the Oklahoma Sooners are doing, you can see Jason White over there. You can meet him. He'll sign some autographs and maybe sign one of those fake, Heisman trophies, that you have. Anything. All you have to do to go and find your tickets is go to StubHub on our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time on the Sports Loudmouth, he might not be loud, but he's loud in the huddle. We're now talking to Oklahoma Sooners Heisman Trophy winner, quarterback Jason White. Jason, what's up, buddy?
How's it going?
We're happy to have you on. I know you're a busy guy. By the way, how are you and your family? How is, the offseason been before college football started, with your Sooners? I mean, they played pretty well. They're playing pretty well right now.
Yeah, the family's good. Great. Got 2 more years and I'll be an empty nester. So excited for that. But other than that, kids are great. Family's good. As far as the Sooners go, super excited for this past weekend's game. Didn't get the outcome we wanted for sure, but it's definitely we definitely are in a different league now.
I will say something about you, and I know a little bit about you. I followed you when I was a little bit younger, and you played. You won a Heisman Trophy. It's not easy winning a Heisman Trophy, by the way. The career that you had in college was phenomenal, and what you did, and for Oklahoma, how many Oklahoma Sooner Heisman Trophy winners were there? It's very few, and you are one of those guys that stand out, and you had such a great career over there. Before we get into the Sooners and what the Sooners need to do this year and what they need to do when it comes to recruiting, maybe they should hire you as a recruiter. I mean, you would be a pretty good recruiter. How was it playing for Oklahoma, one, and two, what was it like being the quarterback of the Sooners?
I grew up in Oklahoma. Literally, it's, back then it was like 45 minutes to the stadium. So Dad always listened to the Oklahoma games on the radio, watched them on TV. So I grew up a Sooner fan. And honestly, they did not recruit me up until Coach Stoops came on. And so for me, I was actually heading to Miami. I was going to be a Hurricane. And so, but once Coach Stoops came on and recruited me, that was a dream for me. I had one visit left. And so Coach Stoops just said, "Hey, I just want you to come over, see the stadium. You've always been a fan. Come check it out. You get to see the behind the scenes stuff." So I took him up on that offer and just fell in love. Just walking the halls of the place where, God, so many good athletes, played, and seeing their pictures on the wall, it took me over. And so immediately the following day after my trip, I called Coach Stoops and said, "Hey, I'm coming to OU," and called the rest of the coaches and let them know. So, but to be the quarterback for OU, it was a childhood dream to be able to, play in that stadium, wear the OU on the helmet. I mean, that's something I always wanted to do. So it was a dream come true for me.
So the Heisman Trophy year was 2003 for you. And what was that season like as a whole, both on and off the field? And was there a point in the season where you're like, I'm going to be in the lead to win this Heisman Award?
So that season, every play was like I was on edge, just because the previous 2 years I had been hurt. And so I knew it could only take one play and I'm done. And so it was funny. The second start of each year before that is when I got hurt, my second start. And so this in 2003, the second start was against Alabama in Alabama. So I didn't even realize that until a Alabama reporter brought that up in the pregame press conference. And so for me, it was like, now it's in the back of my head, like, holy cow, this is the second start of the year. And so, but once I made it through Alabama, it was, I thought, oh, hey, I'm safe. I'm good the rest of the year. So from there, it was fun. It happened really fast. I had a great team, great teammates around me, great coaches. So as the year went on, I'll never forget Kenny Mossman, a PR for Oklahoma. He came up to me and said, he handed me this card and it said "the white stuff." And I was like, "What's this for?" And he said, "That's your Heisman campaign." I said, "For what?" And he goes, "For the Heisman Trophy." He's like, "You're in the top 3 and we got to start campaigning for you." And I was like, holy, that's when it became real for me. And I was like, "You really have to send these out to voters and stuff?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, we'll get your approval first, then we send them all out." And so that's when it started. And then of course the media attention got really hot after the third or fourth game that year. And so it was a lot, but it was a wild ride and it was fun.
We are talking to former Oklahoma Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, Jason White. Jason, in 2004, you had a pretty good season. You were actually a runner-up, and very few Sooners have ever done that. As a matter of fact, you're the second player after Archie Griffin to be honored like that. I don't know if you know that. I mean, you probably do. But a guy that you were runner-up from was Adrian Peterson, a running back that you played with, one of the greatest running backs to ever play the game. What was it like playing with one of the greatest, I believe, running back to ever come out of college?
I always tell Adrian this. I still randomly talk to him, tell him this all the time. Adrian made my last year as a Sooner the best year ever. And the reason I say that is he came in and took all the attention off me. And I loved it. Instead of asking for me for media after practice, they were asking for Adrian. And so it really lightened that load. And it also lightened the load on the field. To be able to have that guy 7 yards deep, knowing that he can run wherever he wants to run, it made it tough on defenses. So when they started stacking the box, playing the run, that opened up the back end for me. So I loved it. I loved having him on the team. He's a great team player too. I always refer back to the OU Texas game that in 2004. Their defense was based to stop our pass game. And I mean, they were dropping 8. There was no lanes to throw. And so Adrian had a heyday. I don't know how many yards he ran for, but it was quite a few. And we ended up winning. But just like that, I mean, they took away the pass, and we got a guy like Adrian Peterson running the ball. I mean, that was amazing.
So Oklahoma and Texas, obviously, first year in the SEC for them, getting to play with a lot of those big opponents. You were talking about they were losing to Tennessee last week, unfortunately, but Tennessee is a great team too. So what do you think the impact for that will be in college football and like these super conferences that are being formed now?
I think it's really good for Oklahoma and Texas. I mean, I think there's so many benefits to it. I think it is a change? Absolutely, especially after watching this game this past weekend. I mean, they're going to have to play every single down as hard as they can. They're more physical. The SEC is more physical. It's just something that OU's in Texas is going to have to step up and accept the challenge. But I think it's good. You're going to have great games every weekend in the SEC for TV. I mean, college football fans, just like the Oklahoma fans, they're excited to go to new stadiums. Like I know a lot of guys are planning trips to LSU and Ole Miss. So I think it'll be great for everybody.
Jason, obviously you played in the national title game in 2004 against the Trojans. You know that USC Trojans, some people say, is one of the greatest college football teams of all time. Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush and Pete Carroll. What was it like playing in a national championship and playing against a team that good?
Well, I was fortunate enough to play in 2003 against LSU in the national championship. It was a lot closer game than the USC game, but to play against USC, Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart, all those guys, man, I knew after we drove down, scored the very first drive, and it was like, but I was running for my life the whole time, and I knew we were in trouble whenever I would come to the line of scrimmage, and we always called 2 plays in the huddle. And when I got to the line of scrimmage, I would check to the play that the defense gave us. And so whenever I was, yelling check or audible into something else, the USC linebackers were telling where I was going, like they knew. And so I was like, holy cow, like these guys, they know we're going. And I told coach that, but they were prepared. They were the better prepared team that night. To this day, I mean, I always tell everybody I don't like to talk about that game.
Sorry,
but it is. I was just fortunate to be there, and like I said, we were playing against a really good USC team, and that night they were the better team for sure.
Oh, Reggie Bush was lightning fast. I thought when I watched Reggie Bush play college football, I was like, that guy is the fastest guy I've ever seen. And now you watch Tyreek Hill, you watch Xavier Worthy, you see all these guys running in the combine. They're running in like 4 seconds flat or 4.2 seconds. It's ridiculous. One calls himself the cheetah. The other one calls himself I don't know what he calls himself, but whatever. I mean, it's unbelievable how fast these guys are. And then you watch Reggie Bush. At that time, I'm like, oh, that guy's the fastest guy I've ever seen. And still to this day, I don't think I've ever seen anybody faster in college football.
Yeah. So I remember, all year we watched him, throughout the year on the highlights and stuff. But to see that in person, he broke one in the national championship game down the sideline. And I remember standing right there. He ran right by me. And I was just like, it's so much faster in person than it is on TV. And I knew, the guy was amazing. I mean, and not only was he fast straight, he was fast side to side too. And so, it just made him an electric player.
So a lot of controversy this offseason was about the Heisman with Reggie Bush getting it back. Johnny Manziel made some comments, and finally the NCAA decides to reinstate him. Reggie Bush wouldn't go back to the USC program. What are your thoughts to all that craziness?
I'm really glad he got it back. I understand his point behind it, but I think Reggie earned it on the field. I don't think, whatever they said he was doing, I don't think that helped him become a better player on the field. He earned it. He earned it on the field, and I'm really excited to have him back in the fraternity for sure. He's a good guy. He's a good Heisman Trophy, guy to have, and so for him to get it back, I think they did the right thing.
By the way, we are talking to former Oklahoma Heisman Trophy winner Jason White, obviously a successful quarterback in college. And I had some knee injuries. If he didn't have any knee injuries, maybe he plays in the NFL, but, things happen, but had a sensational career and is doing big things off the field. But you look at the game now, at college football to be exact, and now you're looking at the portal, and then you're looking at, players making money. And I thought, for years, college players should be getting something off their autographs. If these schools are bringing in these top recruits and they're making money off of it in the bowl game, why aren't the players bringing in? They're not getting in. Some of them don't finish the college education, and some of them don't get a chance to finish the college education because they go right to the NFL. Do you believe that when you were playing, college players should have been making money off their own names?
Absolutely. I think that it brought a lot of money to the universities. I do think that there could be a better way to do it, maybe where, maybe all freshmen got X amount, all sophomores got a little bit more, juniors got a little bit more, and seniors got, the top. And then have some bonuses in there for championship games, conference championship games, graduating early, carrying a certain GPA. I think there's a little bit better way to do it. So it's throughout the entire team rather than, your big time players getting all the money. But if you look at all those big time players, they're sharing it with their team. I know Caleb Williams did it for his linemen. I know, Danny Stuntsman just did it for all the walk-ons. So these guys are sharing it. And I think that's the true meaning of a team player. But like I said, I think if everybody had like a set limit, hey, you're going to get this each week, and it varied by your class, I think that would be a little bit more even.
So the expanded playoff, another big deal this college season, finally going to 12 teams, 11 with the Power 5 conferences, and then one group of 5, a group of 4 now, actually, teams. What are your thoughts to the way they expanded it? Is it too many teams? Is it too little? Would you have done something different? What are your thoughts?
No, I think expanding it was the only way to go. Just having the 4 teams, I think you're just going to get a true championship team out of expanding it. Because you get teams that maybe struggled the first few games of the year, but then got it rolling, and then they're playing their best football when it counts. And so I'm glad they expanded it. And also, it's more exciting for the fans to watch that. I think they're going to get the true champion now. I can only imagine there's teams that were probably playing their best at the end of the year that just didn't quite make it. And that team probably could have competed for the national championship. And so I think by expanding it, you're going to get like your true championship team.
Jason, we're a funny group of guys here on the show, and I am a nut job. And anybody that knows this show or listens to the show knows that I have taken shots at many different people in the past, not only playing college football, but in the NFL. Deion Sanders is a guy that I can't stand. I respect his talents. I respect all his craziness on and off the football field, and even off the baseball field. By the way, he sucked at baseball. I'm tired of people attacking me on social media about his baseball career. He wasn't that good. Stop it. Stop telling me, oh, well, he went to the World Series. It wasn't him that did this, and they made the playoffs or whatever. I don't want to hear about the Atlanta Braves and what he did. Oh, he played multiple sports. I don't want to hear it. Deion Sanders, this is a guy that speaks highly of himself, highly of his sons, and says a lot. He said a lot after he came from Jackson State. He goes to Colorado. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, we're gonna be champions. Da, 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 da. Last year they won 4 games, and this year, what's their record, Speedy? What are their record?
2-3, I believe.
2-3. Okay, they've won 2 games out of 5. All right, and this guy is still talking, and he was another guy. This is the same guy that Deion Sanders said, I will never coach in the NFL. Meanwhile, he was interviewing for NFL jobs in the offseason. What does that tell you about it? I can't stand what Deion Sanders and his sons say, not only to the press, but what they say and throw players and throw his own teammates under the bus. What are your thoughts, his coaching ability? What are your thoughts to his son, who is supposed to be a leader, but throws certain people under the bus? It doesn't matter if they're teammates or other players from other teams.
Yeah, I don't think that if you wipe away all that stuff, if you wipe away throwing the guys under the bus, or constantly focused on themselves, I think he's doing good to teach young men. And there's a lot to be said about that. And so when I see him take a guy under his wing and really coach him up, and not only on the field but off the field, like, that's what it's about to me. And yeah, I'm not, obviously, if you watch me play, I'm not a flashy guy. I'm not going to go, dance in the end zone. I'm not going to do any of that. But I will say there are guys that's them, and that's okay for me. And so I feel like if you wash all that, all the social media, all that stuff out, and you get down to the true person that he wants his team to be successful. He wants every player to be successful. Like, I'm okay with that. And so if as long as he's changing the lives of some of these players, like, that's what counts to me.
Interesting.
So right now, the landscape of college football right now, do you think there's an obvious powerhouse right now? And who do you think should be the favorites, the top 4 or 5 teams looking ahead into the season?
Well, I definitely think Georgia's up there. They're always good. They've been in the last few years. I feel like Alabama's down a little bit, which is kind of rare. But obviously they lost a great head coach. I think I really think after watching Tennessee play, they have a really good offense, and their defense was a lot better than I thought. And so I feel like that they're going to win a lot of games this year. But you got let's see, Texas. I mean, although I'm not supposed to root for Texas or say anything good about Texas.
I see you're struggling to admit that right now.
You can't ignore it. I mean, they're a really good team. And, I really think that with, Arch coming in and showing what he can do, that makes it even worse, because, I don't know what will happen when Quinn comes back, but he's a good player. We got 2 really good quarterbacks. So, I really think Texas is in for a long run.
We are talking to former Oklahoma Heisman Trophy winner quarterback Jason White. And by the way, I'm not going to say this, but I'm calling them my Oregon Ducks. Okay. I'm not an Oregon fan. I'm a Seminole fan growing up, but I've fallen in love with this team. I really have. And one of the reasons why is I love Mr. Lanning. I think he's one of my favorite coaches right now in college football. He's energetic. He knows how to drive people. He comes out, he sticks up for the players, and there are not many guys that have done that. I mean, Nick Saban, he doesn't like the portals. He doesn't like the players making money. Dabo Swinney has thrown the players under the bus, thinking that the reason why the coaches are making the money because they deserve it. Danny Lanning came out and said something very, very interesting last year after the season. He says, if we're making tens of millions of dollars, why shouldn't the players make it? So what are your thoughts to Danny Lanning? And what is your thoughts to the Oregon Ducks? They're 3-0. I think the Oregon Ducks could go all the way this year.
Yeah, no doubt. He's a great coach. In fact, a while back, before Coach Venables at OU, there was a rumor, of course, that he was a candidate, and I was super excited. That he was even considering, because I like him he is a player's coach, and for him to come out and say that, hey, we're making millions of dollars and the players should too, like that's great. Because I know a guy like that's probably going to have some things in place to help these kids manage that money. He's going to make sure that these guys aren't misusing it or just blowing it. So he's probably going to have something in place to help them manage that. So, but you're right. I didn't mean to leave Oregon off my list, but they've been in the top for a long time now. And I really think I got to watch them last weekend, I think, or 2 weekends ago. And they look great. I mean, it's always a electric offense that they run. And so it's, as a quarterback, that's what I always like to see, is the offensive side.
I don't believe, first of all, he would ever have taken that Alabama job, even if he got offered it. I think he really loves it over there in Oregon. And I think that he wants this program to win under him. This guy, I think he's a future NFL coach. I just think there's something about him that just would drive me to want to play for him. He's energetic. He knows how to speak. He doesn't really throw anybody under the bus. He's for the players. He's for his coaches. And have you ever seen his like halftime, speeches to his players? I mean, it's unbelievable. I've seen some of the stuff that he has said. I would fight for this guy. I would go to war for this guy. It's really something that I would love to get him on the show, by the way. I would love to get Lanning on the show because I think he's got that it factor that you look for in a coach.
Yeah, definitely. I know a lot of Coach Stoops' halftime speeches didn't get, but he was the same way. I mean, just he could get the room fired up in a heartbeat. The same with I've watched a lot of video just when I was at OU. There was always the Switzer videos from halftime or before games, and to hear stories from guys like Billy Sims who says that Coach Switzer actually called him at halftime when they were playing Colorado one year, called him and said, "Hey, just thinking about you. We're up 36-0. Just thinking about you. Just want to make sure that you're coming to OU." And so just things like that just make these coaches amazing. And I haven't been fortunate to see one of his halftime speeches, but definitely now that you say that, I will try to look one up.
All right, my last question. We have a betting guy on this network that likes to refer to your school as Choklahoma. Do you have a rebuttal to him?
Hey, they're there, and I know that's kind of a easy way out to say that, hey, we played there, we did this, but I think we're preparing now to be able to play with those guys. Just like we were up, 17 points against Georgia in the Rose Bowl in the college football playoff. And I was at the game, and I'll never forget, I was standing in the tunnel and the players were walking up at halftime. You would have thought we were down 17. I mean, it was the craziest thing I ever seen. And then they came out flat. But until we start winning those big games, on a constant or on a consistent basis, that he's entitled to his opinion. But we do play at a high level, and that's something I'm proud of.
Yeah, well, I will say this for all you guys that call them Choklahomers. They've won national champions. There's the championships. There are a lot of other schools that have been there or have never been there and never won anything. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Jason, we love you, man. We're very happy to have you on for the first time on a Loudmouth. We were trying to be professional today. I am trying. There are times. Listen, we are professional all the time, but I like to have fun with our guests. But you're a former. Well, haven't we had a Heisman Trophy winner on our show?
I
think we do. I think we have, but nevertheless, we love you and you speak very kindly, and that says a lot about who you are as a player and what you have done, not only for the Sooners, but as a Heisman Trophy winner, what you stand for. And so we really appreciate the time, and we'd love to get you on again.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me. Enjoyed it. And anytime you just let me know.
All right. Jason White, ladies and gentlemen, Heisman Trophy. Jason White. Could you do the Heisman Trophy stance? Could you do it? Go ahead. Give us your Heisman. There it is. There it is.
Something like this.
I gotta stand up. We gotta see it. We gotta see it. Okay. Gotta stand up. Oh yeah. There it is. There it is. There, Flex. Give us a bite. Let's see your tricep. Let's see your
tricep. Okay, here we go. Oh, well.
You got bigger arms than you did when you played college football. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
What happens when you become a dad?
Exactly. Yeah.
A lot of holding the kid and cradling the kid.
That's right.
Jason, we really appreciate the time, bud.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Jason White. Fantastic. Great guy. Great guy. You know what? I love when we get guys on. They've never been on our show and just like they're just open, cool, collective. And that's what I think Jason White is. He's just a cool guy. How could you not root for a guy like that? You know what I mean? So, and if he didn't have those knee problems when he was in college, I think Jason White was an NFL player. he had a lot of knee problems. I think he had like 2 or 3 knee problems, knee surgeries before he even. I think after he won a Heisman Trophy or before he won the Heisman Trophy. So I think it was 2002 when he had the bad knee injury.
Yeah, he was mentioning that it was the 2 years before that. He won the Heisman Trophy in 03, and then I think he had a knee injury at the combine or something like that, or he was rehabbing for a knee injury at the combine.
It's horrible.
So, yeah,
it's horrible. Who would have thought? I mean, the guy could have been an NFL quarterback, maybe gone down as one of the greats. Who knows? You never know. I know. Look, Tom Brady was drafted at 199. He was a 6th-round draft pick, and he's the greatest. Or some people say he's the greatest quarterback of all time. I won't. I will never do that. You will never hear that from these lips. I tell you what you would hear from these lips, but I'm not going to do it on live radio, ladies and gentlemen. You know what that means?
No.
What does that sound like?
I don't translate random
Sounds like an animal, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't.
What do you think? I
don't translate random.
A baboon. That's what they call them. Baboons, right? Baboons.
Okay, well,
you
I
like
translate baboon language.
Do you like baboons?
I don't know.
Have you ever seen a baboon?
Not in person.
You've never gone to a zoo?
Not with a baboon.
So you were hanging out with a baboon at the zoo?
No. Okay. I said the opposite of that.
Well, you just said that you were not hanging out with a baboon at a zoo.
I wasn't.
Well, I know that you weren't.
Good. So end the sentence there. Not hard to do.
The Giants won their first game of the season 21-15 versus the Browns in the game where Daniel Jones was the number 1 quarterback in the NFL as far as EPA or expected points added. Daniel Jones was rated at a 7.7, and Aaron Rodgers was the only quarterback this week that was above 5, being rated at 7.4. Pro Football Focus also mentioned that the Giants' offensive line struggled more in the pass protection than in the first 2 games, allowing 21 pressures. Several writers and the Giants.com also mentioned that the Browns defense being the best in the NFL at home since 2022, allowing the least total yards and passing yards per game. Malik Neighbors had another big game, 8 catches for 78 yards and 2 touchdowns. Neighbors is second in the NFL in catches, 5th in receiving yards, and is tied for first in touchdowns through 3 weeks. First of all, Neighbors is a stud. We all know that. So, and don't give Joe Shane any credit for that. It was his son that told him to draft him, just so you know. It was his son that told him to draft, and one of his daughters said, draft Neighbors. So just so you guys know, it had nothing to do with Joe Shane. So I don't give him any credit. But he is a stud. There's no question this guy is special. Odell Beckham was special. Now, as long as he stays healthy, I think that he'll be on his way. We've seen a lot of these LSU wide receivers really explode, after they go to the NFL and then, obviously fall apart, later in their careers or very short in their careers, aka Odell Beckham with the knee and hamstring problems that he has had in the past. And then even Justin Jefferson, who's, barely over the first 3 years of his career, 4 years of his career, never got hurt and then started getting hurt. And now he gets injured every single year now. So I'm not saying there are injuries that you have to worry about, but it's still, when you look at Malik Neighbors, he is special. And I'm still not giving Joe Shane the credit for it. What I can say right now, I know a lot of Giant fans can't stand Daniel Jones. I know they can't. I don't care about the ratings or whatever EPA is, expected points added. Who cares about these statistics? It means nothing to me. And I don't care about your eye test and everybody, it's all about the eye test. As the Beef says, it's all about the eye test. What the hell does he know about the eye test? No offense, Beef. What do you know? You're a coach? You're a GM? You're an owner? Have you ever played football? Have you ever played, college football at a high level? You don't know crap. No offense to all you fans out there. You don't know crap. What I do know right now with the New York Giants is this team offensively is one player. It's one player. Now, Singletary is having a decent season because of Malik Neighbors. He's taking teams and making teams wonder, how are we going to stop this guy? And it's open up to, could you imagine if Saquon Barkley was on this team right now? Just think about this. So you see what Saquon's doing over there with A.J. Brown and Davante Smith. Could you imagine Saquon Barkley in this offense? This team would be 3-0 right now. 3-0. Yes, you heard it. 3-0. You stupid, giant replica owners over there. I'm just kidding. Owners or fans or whatever the hell you think. Oh, we don't need them. We don't need them. You don't need them? This team right now could be so much better than they are. And the defense, obviously, they play great. I'll tell you this right now. They had 8 sacks in the game. Actually, Burns showed up. Ladies and gentlemen, Burns actually played pretty well. Give him a clap. Forced fumble. Got to the quarterback. Wonderful. The defense actually showed up in this game. But you're also playing an offensive line that's depleted. You're also playing Deshaun Watson, I think, forgot the understanding of playing the quarterback position. Daniel Jones outplayed a guy that just got paid, 2 years ago? $260 million or $250 million. Tell him what he's won, Bob. $40 million. Here's the thing. I love Daniel Jones. I always stick up for the quarterback that everybody hates. Why? Because I see that this quarterback could be good if he's on the right roster. Now, he's not Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson's horrendous. Okay? If you put Daniel Jones right now on a good team in the NFL, a team that has weapons all over. This, like I said about Dak Prescott, you put Dak Prescott in San Francisco, they don't lose. You're going to tell me that Brock Purdy's better than Dak Prescott? You're out of your damn minds. I don't want to hear it. Dak Prescott is a good quarterback. Daniel Jones is a good quarterback. Now, is he an elite quarterback? Dak could be. Daniel is not. But you don't need an elite quarterback to win. You don't. The NFL has always proven that to be. Remember in 2000? Remember a guy named Trent Dilfer? Does anybody remember that guy? I do. He's an analyst. Well, he's not an analyst anymore because he got fired everywhere he went, but I'm just, no offense to Trenny. But he was the Baltimore Ravens quarterback. That defense, he won the damn Super Bowl. You can win with not an elite quarterback. And by the way, Daniel Jones is much better than Trent Dilfer. Much better. He blow Trent Dilfer out of the water. If you look at what he can do on the field with his legs, I want to see the Giants use Daniel Jones' strengths more. He should be running the ball more. Now, obviously, put him in a position that he's not going to get hurt, but you should be running the ball more with this guy. He is good at using his legs. He's a lot faster than he looks. The guy's 6'5". He's tall. I think they need to use more of his strengths and stop using different things that could form weaknesses for this team. Daniel Jones is not a great efficient passer in certain aspects of the game. We can see that. When he's pressured, right side, he makes mistakes. When he goes to the left, he's better. We've seen that. So what do the Giants need to do to get this team and get this team rolling? The NFC is weak. Did you see what San Francisco did not play well this week? Jennings, by the way, Speedy, I picked up Jennings. I should have started him. He got 46 points.
I had the same problem in another league.
I should have started him. I would have won this week, but damn stupid. I'm going to play him this week. I'm not going to make that same mistake. But I'm going to tell you this right now. It is, to me, very important for the New York Giants to use Daniel Jones and his strengths, not his weaknesses. Don't put him in a situation where he's going to fail. He made, at the end of the game, the Giants almost gave the game away, and it wasn't him. They were just, the offensive line looked like they thought, the offensive line just said, you know what, we have this. We're going to just play sloppy. And they did. They played sloppy at the end of the game. The offense played sloppy at the end of the game. I almost gave the game away to the Browns. But that was a great win for the New York Giants. I don't care what anybody says. The Browns, they're a borderline playoff team. They made the playoffs last year. The Giants should be 2-1. They should be. But I think that when I saw yesterday and when I saw what the Giants is, I don't know what this team fully is. And by the way, that was a great play by Singletary falling at the 1 yard line. He could have ran it in. That moved the clock up a little bit more and gave them the opportunity to run the clock out. That was something that I would believe Saquon Barkley wouldn't have done. I'm just speaking the truth. Saquon Barkley would have ran the ball in. I have to give Singletary a lot of credit because he fell on the 1 yard line. That was very smart. But for you Giant fans to hate what Daniel Jones is or what he is, that's what stood out to me. I know the 8 sacks and the defense, but what stood out to me is Daniel Jones in the last 2 weeks has been efficient. And if he's efficient, you're going to have a chance to win.
Yeah, efficiency has always been the issue with Daniel Jones, both sensing pressure and missing a lot of the shorter throws as well, which still was a big issue for him at the beginning of the year. A lot of the screen passes, a lot of those.
He didn't miss on a lot of them yesterday.
Simple throws, yeah. And I think the intermediate throws, especially on the outside, were something he did better yesterday. Now, I think in the second half, there were a lot of Giants fans that were saying that he was missing high on a lot of throws and stuff like that. I'm not saying he played great, but I think the Giants.
What do you want him to be perfect?
No. I'm not saying me. I'm saying Giants. Some Giants fans. I think the case of them doing.
Of course you do, Fish. Of course you do.
The case of what Daniel Jones was in terms of his rookie year and even some of the beginning of the games this year and last year, compared to what he was now, that's good progress that's being made when the offensive line was breaking down for him. Like sometimes when the offensive line was breaking down for him, he got scared. He didn't sense pressure very well. And this was a game that Myles Garrett, I think, had the most pressures of any guy this week, and he was playing hurt. So that said something about him just outmatching Andrew Thomas in this game and the left side of that offensive line. So that's something you normally see Daniel Jones break down on, and he was much more composed in this game. And even Malik Neighbors too, like getting involved in many different routes finally. Like Brian Dable, I think, was holding those guys back previously, and Neighbors still was great anyway.
I would be more worried about Brian Dable and his play calling, especially in the fourth quarter, than Daniel Jones. Brian Dable looked like he was playing safe. Now, he could have really dropped the ball down the throats of the Cleveland Browns. And then he started just to play safe in the fourth quarter, especially the last 10 minutes of the game. If you want to show teams that you're for real, when you're trying to dominate, just dominate. Go drop another pass in. Throw the ball down the field to Neighbors. Take chances. Show teams that you're not afraid to take chances. That's what the Giants did so well with Tom Coughlin. That's what made Tom Coughlin fun to watch, is that he believed in Eli Manning. He believed in. Now you're going to tell me if Dable doesn't believe in Daniel Jones, it's already not going to work. Now Dable did not say he doesn't trust in Daniel Jones because he's been putting him back out there. Now he could have went to Locke. He could have went to, Mr. DeVito, but he didn't. He went back to Daniel Jones. It shows that he has faith that this kid's going to figure it out. I just think all the things that you heard in the offseason, that bothered Daniel Jones. It would bother anybody. When you're willing to move up and try to go after another quarterback, and you just gave me $40 million a year the year before, and you believed in me as a quarterback after I got hurt, and pretty much telling me that you might not think I'm the future of this organization, that would bother me as a quarterback. So maybe it took a little while for Daniel Jones to figure out, hey, you know what? I got to go out there and play. I got to be this quarterback that everybody believes, or everybody doesn't believe I could be, and stop, with this whole story with, who I'm dating. I mean, by the way, if that's true, he's a lucky man. I mean, I'm not going to lie to him. I tell him straight out, you're a lucky man. And so, and I think it is to be true. I think it is true, because it wouldn't have came out if it wasn't true. But what I do believe right now is Daniel Jones is going to be the only reason why this team is going to make the playoffs. He needs to play efficient. If he plays like this, the Giants got to stop with looking for a quarterback and we need to find this and we need to find that. Trust in what you have. When you trust in what you have, you can win with what you have. And I think they have to believe that Daniel Jones is going to figure things out. And I think he has. No mistakes. I know you all have your own thoughts of Daniel Jones, or you have doubts on him. I think that you need to believe that he will figure it out. And I think he has. I think he's shown, once he has confidence in one of these guys to get open, like Neighbors, that could open up the field for other players to make plays.
He just is very streaky with his accuracy. In the first half, he played the best half of football he's played since that Arizona first half. that half of football in Arizona when they were able to do it at the beginning of last year. I think it was also week 3. It was a great job. He was able to get Neighbors open a couple of times. I would say that the play calling was pretty excellent from Brian Dable to free up Neighbors, especially on that second touchdown. They were going to double him, and he motions Wandale over to the other side to make sure that they had to cover Wandale. And then on the back side of it, they had that little running back screen to draw the safety, so it was one-on-one. There's some really like subliminal stuff going on that Dable's able to do as a play caller to free up a guy like Neighbors. If they go to the playoffs, it's not because of Daniel Jones, it's because of Neighbors. Neighbors is so good that he demands double teams already.
Him the ball. I mean, that pass in the end zone, yeah, he made the catch. That was a pretty good pass. You could say whatever you want. He had to throw it over the defensive players and put it where he was going to be. That was a good pass.
You're absolutely right, but at the same time, he missed Theo Johnson wide open in the end zone. He was erratic the entire second half. He couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, though.
Well, maybe because the offensive line didn't protect him in certain aspects of those plays. You know, there was a lot of pressures on the left side. And Thomas, who got a lot of money, everybody keeps talking about Thomas. Thomas did not really have one of his better games.
He had to go against Myles Garrett, the best player in the world, and he held him a couple of times because he won the award last year, the defensive player of the year. I agree with you. Watt's probably better, but Garrett was pretty hard to stop. Let's put it that way. And that's a really good pass rush. They were a great defense last year, and no one thinks they're a bad defense now, which is why it was impressive. People did not expect this to happen. I would say on the other side of it, their offensive line could not stop the Giants defense. And it was wonderful to see. Bowen, this is a guy that doesn't blitz. Very famously has one of the lowest blitz rates when he was with Tennessee, around 27%.
So was Bambi.
This week, 53%. Wink type numbers from the blitzing for the Giants.
The Wink Martindale crap.
That's what he did. He brought all sorts of crazy pressure packages, and it was very smart. If you have 2 backup tackles or a tackle that's like coming back from injury, who I believe Willis got hurt in the game again, that's what you do to a team that doesn't have the communication now. You just blitz the crap out of them. And it's great to see that Bowen is versatile enough and to make that game plan. And we have a guest coming on who could tell us all about defensive game plans.
I feel sure he will.
He would say that the Giants' game plan was great.
He knows all about defense. We all know that. Antoine's been on the show before. But before we get Antoine, I'd love to hear scoops. You guys are Giant fans, so I want to know. I want to see what you guys see. I saw what I saw. And for anybody to think that Daniel Jones had to play even better to prove himself, I think it's ridiculous. If you play clean football, that's all you need to do. Clean football helps you win games. That's all you need your quarterback to do. And the defense should do the rest.
I personally still like Daniel Jones. I agree with you 100%, Errol. I do think that him in the connection with Neighbors, of course, the first game, it wasn't really all there.
Look at that throw. Look at that throw. Did you see that throw?
Was a good throw.
That was a great throw. That is a fantastic throw. Come on. Hey, look, Kaysen knows this. Antoine Kaysen knows this. Look at that. Beautiful throw. Beautiful. I mean, you couldn't have thrown the ball better than that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, yeah,
I'm gonna
just basically, and
I'm not a Giant fan, by the way.
It's taking them a minute, only for the fact that now it's getting pretty clear that Neighbors is a good threat. Neighbors is that number one guy for Daniel Jones. But then again, that's all that Daniel Jones does have. So I mean, now like I said, the first game wasn't really all there for the Giants and Malik Neighbors. I mean, yeah, he did connect with him a couple of times here and there, and they did have decent chemistry. But the past 2 games is really where they've shown their chemistry in like late, especially in the game, to where the Daniel Jones to Malik Neighbors connection is really where it's at in New York. But my thing is that I'm so happy with the way that the Giants defense played this time around against Washington. There were so many sacks, so many pressures against Jaden Daniels that there was so many sacks that Jaden Daniels should have easily went down for like a big 6-7 yard loss, but he ended up running around the defender for about a 2-yard loss, which it's not as anything compared to a 7-yard loss, of course. That it's the balls, of course, moved way back to the 7-yard loss. But my thing is that the Giants defense completely did what they needed to do against Washington in this game. They pressured Deshaun Watson. They were all in his face that entire game. Chapman and Dexter Lawrence were all up in his grill the entire time. Even Brian Burns. Brian Burns had a pretty solid game.
Finally.
Yeah, finally.
Overpaying him, man.
But a lot of these. But yeah, a lot of these guys actually looked really good with pressuring Daniel Jones. And look at that right there. That Fish is just showing on the reel right there. But like I said, that was really like a big surprise.
Is he playing dice over there? I mean, he better be playing dice.
Yeah, dice.
Yeah, well, he's going to be dicing out of there if he doesn't start playing a little football.
Shout out to undrafted free agent Elijah Chapman. Nice call there, Scoops.
Game, yeah, Chapman had a great game. If these Giants, man, if they play against a good team, a good offensive
playing
line,
the Cowboys on Thursday, they should beat them the way the Cowboys are playing.
And on top of that, the Cowboys are going to be ready for the Giants.
Yeah,
like, they'll know, like, in a way, be like, oh, you know, this Giants. If they surprise them, if they punch the Cowboys offensive line in the mouth, then it could surprise everybody. They could walk out with the win if the Giants pass rush actually gets in Dak Prescott's face the way they did with Deshaun Watson.
We will see. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, he's been waiting very carefully and very smoothly, as he always does. He's smooth on the football field, and he's smooth in our hearts. We will be talking to former Chargers, Cardinals, Panthers, and Ravens cornerback Antoine Cason here on the Sports Loudmouth